I have a wealth of experience in cybersecurity, been in cybersecurity for years now, man, 10 plus years. And I'm now a consulting manager in cybersecurity for a large technology consulting firm. And I'm having fun doing it. It's very busy. It's very tumultuous at times. It's kind of up and down here and there. It's not always clear cut as it concerns what everything needs to be, but I would describe it as a beautiful mess because I get a lot of experiences in a lot of different areas within cybersecurity for many different industries. I'm doing something in fintech where I never have done before. I have a background in electrical engineering and nuclear engineering, and somehow I find myself doing an engagement for a financial institution. Very new for me, but cool. We'll roll with the punches. Um, Little background about this. So B2B was speaking about interviewing for particular roles within tech. And because I'm a hiring manager, right, I interview individuals from time to time for roles in cybersecurity. He thought it would be a very good idea to have me on and for me and him to have some discussion about kind of just what the interview processes are and what all of kind of some of the questions that will come from the hiring manager. Because many times you can hear a lot about tech, right? You can hear a lot about tech where people will be like, hey, there's all these tech layoffs, right? There's nothing happening in tech. It's not a good field to get in anymore. Nobody's doing remote. Nobody's doing anything. But I think the reality of it is that people can still get in tech in 2024, even in the midst of all of these big tech organization layoffs. So we wanted to kind of navigate some of that content as we were having our discussion. And that's kind of like an intro to what this whole thing is. So yeah,
Awesome.
and like we get some good feedback too. Kareen says that she loves the idea. So yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Now my background is in cybersecurity and engineering,
Mhm.
where I'm like, okay, cool. But at the same time, I know that I can't ask B2B very technically depth questions about his field that a real interviewer would be interviewing him for. So I would like to present that prerequisite or that or some of that front matter there before we kind of get into some of the interview. Is that cool with me?
It is.
Well, welcome, William, to the interview. This is the final round of the interview. You have made it this far after going through the HR recruiter screening. You talked to some members of the team, and now we really want to have an interview to try to understand about you being a very good fit for the team. We have several candidates in the pipeline for this role, and I'm happy that you're here. So let's just jump right here into the interview. Um, First question I have for you is, what makes you interested in the tech firm that you're interviewing for? Like, what has brought your interest to our firm?
All right. Thank you for that question. And the reason why I applied for this position is I have been seeing so many great things about this company. I saw that you
Mm-hmm.
all were in the Gartner report for
Okay.
the Magic Quadrant. I saw that in the news that you all were offering a lot of different tuition reimbursements for your
Mm-hmm.
company as well. So I really appreciated the benefits that you
Okay.
all provide as well. In addition to that, I think it will be a great way for me to grow in my own career as well and
Mm-hmm.
get some more experience with consulting.
Okay.
Um, with that, I think that I have a lot that I can provide as well
Okay.
to the industry, to your
Okay.
industry specifically.
Yeah, thank you for that. And hopefully you don't mind. I'll be taking notes as we're going through the interview to gain a better understanding and kind of jot down some of my thoughts about some of your answers.
Yes. And also,
Um,
can I ask if
yep,
I can take notes as well?
absolutely. Feel
Perfect.
free.
Thank you.
Um, because and I think that you taking notes is very important because I think that the way that I look at interviews is that we're not only interviewing you as a potential candidate for this role, but you're also interviewing us, right? And we're looking for more of an invested interest here. You're interviewing us to see if this is somewhere where you would like to work. And at the end of the interview, you'll be able to ask me questions about anything additional that we might not have covered. How does that work?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, sweet. Now, this role is for a leadership role for data engineers. I know that you have been an individual contributor through a good amount of your career, but now we want someone to come in to be able to lead a team of data engineers into our data engineering professional services. So, have you had experience leading a group or have led out in a group, even if you haven't been a manager in past roles? And if you have, give me some information about it.
Yes, I have. So, to add on to that, I have been in a leadership role. With that, I have been working for the product. It's an internal product that I
Mm-hmm.
am on the leadership team with. There's only 3 data engineers for this particular product, and I
Mm-hmm.
am the lead data engineer for that particular product. I may be considered an individual contributor, but I do help with the business analysts to be able to curate a lot of the work and be able to delegate that to the other data engineers as well.
Okay. Okay, that works. As a leader or as you have been a lead in those particular roles, what are some metrics or some measures of success that you've seen in those roles? Have there been like have you had good retention for people that you've led? Have you taught individuals particular disciplines within data engineering, or have it has it resulted in some type of cost savings within your role? Tell me more about that. Some metrics behind your leadership within that role.
I Let me ask you one more time. So, can you repeat
Hmm.
the first one that you said? I got the. You asked me, have I taught them any disciplines within this role
Hmm.
and or any cost savings? What was the first one that you asked?
So I was saying like retention, right?
Retention.
So I guess I'm just looking at what were some evidences of success within your leadership role. And I was just giving a couple of examples there, like, hey, have
Right.
people been retained in that role? Have individuals learned more from you, or have it resulted in some type of cost savings or some cost benefit?
Yes. So I'll
Talk to me
go
a little
through.
bit about that.
Yes,
Yep.
I will go through all 3 of them. So
Hmm.
all the 3 that you listed, which is the retention, we have currently not lost any of the data engineers since I joined with the team. What
Hmm.
I try to do is I create a lot of onboarding documentation.
Okay.
So not only am I trying to be able to help new data engineers come into our team and then be able to be successful within their role, I will do presentations that we will use for documentation, and then it also will help them to learn, or I'm teaching them more about the organization and also the team as well. I have
Hmm.
done, I have also helped out with a lot of the technical debt items that we may have to improve our cost savings
Okay.
with
Yeah.
that, because you may have a project that may be going on for a long period of time, and I will work with the other data
Hmm.
engineers as well to be able to maybe archive some data tables or be able to save costs as much as we can. So
Hmm.
yeah, that is,
Okay.
um, to answer your question, that is what I would do.
Yeah, I think that some of those are very positive things as it concerns being a leader, especially creating that onboarding documentation. Many times in consulting, we're always hiring people in. So having a set of onboarding documents or somewhere where new employees can go in order to know or in order to get up to speed faster. That's something that is a big need within our team.
Okay.
And definitely the retention purposes too. And I'm seeing another my esteemed colleague is asking a question about something a little bit more technical. Let's ask about this. What is your experience with data lakes?
Yeah, so primarily I work with them every single day. Um,
Okay.
so particularly what we use for our data lakes is we use several different products such as
Hmm.
Oracle um,
Okay.
database, SQL database, and then also Microsoft SQL Server.
Okay.
And
Yep.
you may hear the words PeopleSoft or DataMart.
Yeah.
So PeopleSoft is for the Oracle, DataMart is for Microsoft SQL Server, and then also I use the data warehouse BigQuery in Google
Hmm.
Cloud. What we do with it is we use it for data modeling. So primarily moving that data from one place to the other, which is transforming it ingesting the information, transforming it for the business per the requirements, and then delivering it to the specified locations, such as the business may ask for something, or we may
Hmm.
want to post that information on the UI.
Okay, that works. That works. I'm seeing another question from Tim, the developer, another one of my esteemed colleagues. They mentioned Hadoop or Spark.
Right.
Um, are you familiar with those particular terms?
Hadoop and Spark.
Hmm.
Those are from the Apache,
Okay.
um, the collection of different big data tools.
Hmm.
And I primarily use them within the Google Cloud infrastructure. So
Yep.
Spark which is processing a lot of the data that you may get. Google Cloud has another tool with a similar use case.
Hmm.
You can do a lot of the same things with some of the tools, such as a BigQuery. You can use it, and then Hadoop. You have Google Cloud Storage,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of the tools within the Apache infrastructure
Hmm.
that Google Cloud, AWS, and Azure all mimic or have similar use
Okay.
cases for.
Sweet. Sweet. That works. So, and this next question again is from one of my esteemed colleagues, but I want it to be in a way. So, one thing about consulting is that we're very much so customer facing, right? Whether it's an internal customer within the organization or an external customer who has hired us in to do technical work for them in some type of capacity. Say, for instance, I am one of your customers and present the answer to this question in the way very succinct, very straightforward, but definitely it's something that will be a very good representation of the organization that you're working for. So the question here is what is the difference between data lakes and data marts versus data warehouses? And then what is your familiarity with the star scheme? And just again within the context of saying I'm your customer and I don't have any knowledge of these concepts or these ideas. Feel free to maybe digest the question and then give me more of a customer facing type of answer to it.
Okay, let me write down. So
Sure.
you said that. So you have a two-part question, which is
Hmm.
the
And it's in
difference
the chat as
between
well.
a. Okay, yes. So
Hmm.
yeah, the difference between a data warehouse, a data mart, and a data lake. So
Hmm.
that's essentially what you're asking for the first one, and then the
Yes.
second one is the star schema.
Hmm.
Okay, let me answer your first question. So the first question is a data warehouse such as a BigQuery, which
Hmm.
is a structure. It's already like pre-processed, structured format data. So
Okay.
something that you can read, and then a data lake is unstructured data. So something that
Mm.
you can't really sit there and read it in the same way that you can do analysis within a data warehouse. Um,
Okay.
they do store the
Hmm.
data, and the data mart. I don't know the exact specifics.
Hmm.
I believe it depends on a certain use case to use a data mart, but I'm not for sure about the specifics of a data mart. The differences
Got
between
it.
it.
So
I'm
a data lake is unstructured data. A data warehouse is structured data that can be
right.
read, and data mart is something else.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm not exactly certain of the
Sure.
definition of a data mart. I've
Yep.
worked with data lakes and data warehouses, but
Okay.
yeah. So uh, and then your second question, the star schema is
Hmm.
that? Now I have never worked with the star schema. I do know that
Yeah.
it is relating to relational databases.
Okay.
So yeah, I can let you know that about the star schema. I
Definitely that
believe
works.
that.
And I think. Oh,
Okay,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I believe that's the two questions that you
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. No. Definitely. And kind of just a little pause in the interview. I think that one thing that's really good about these interview questions, right? Because I don't know the answers to any of these at all. But I think that at times we don't always know the answers during interviews. We definitely don't. I know there's been plenty of times where I have not known answers to particular questions, even technical questions. And I think that that's a lot of times the opportunity for you to say, hey, um, I'm not familiar with that concept, but I'm definitely willing to learn. So at times I might ask the interviewer for a little bit more context around what that concept is, or I might even say, "Hey, I I need to do a little bit more research about that concept, and I can definitely get back to you via email." So then I'll follow that up by saying, "Hey, in an email, thank you." Like it'll be like my thank you for helping me to interview. Thank you for interviewing me. And I did a little bit more research on that in this case, the data marked concept. And I found out all these different things. Thank you for presenting that question for me in order for me to learn more. So, not knowing an answer right off the rip is not a negative, it's really an opportunity. So now we can continue. And Ramil trying to be funny. No, it's not. The thing about these interviews, Ramil, is that people don't always know the answers to everything. People do not know all the answers. I know I don't. There's been plenty of times where I haven't known. So it's really just what you do when you don't know. So now the next one is about Tim the developer. He has a question. He says to talk about a time where a team member made a mistake in the data pipeline. How was the mistake identified, and which method of training was done to prevent future mistakes?
Right.
Yep.
So with this question, I recently had a situation like this.
Hmm. Okay.
So I want to say that my team member, it wasn't a mistake in the sense of a miscommunication between different teams.
Hmm.
So what was going on is a team member of mine was working on a particular project, and they're kind of in a silo. And this is one of the issues that I think every developer may run into. They're
Hmm.
working on their particular product, and they say, okay, well, hey, I'm going to follow the business requirement, which is switching from one indices to another within our
Hmm.
NoSQL database. This was something that
Okay.
had been planned already, and it was already brought up by the business.
Mm.
Then, by making that change, it wasn't like he didn't let people know that he was making the change, but he made
Hmm.
that change and it affected a completely different product on a different team. And
Mm.
because that other team used that information and that data in that NoSQL database, and they needed to say, "Hey, wait, what's going on? What broke?" It was that switch that was a pre-planned thing. So
Mm.
with that, I listened to that question. We ended up solving the issue by switching the alias back to the original indices
Hmm.
or the index, and so that problem was solved. And then we did a later release to go ahead and make the change that he initially wanted to make, but everybody was on the same page after changing some
Gotcha.
code. And what we did was we discussed the dependencies between different teams.
Hmm.
So I created a presentation. I said, hey, this product may affect this other product in
Mm.
this way because we're dependent on them. So that
Who did
is,
you present that information to?
I
Was it to
present
leadership or? Hmm.
I presented that information to leadership, so senior level
Hmm.
leadership. I even went up to the C level executive level, so
Mm.
senior VPs, CTO, and then
Okay.
also the different teams that were involved. So
Mm.
for the different products, all of them have access to that presentation and also
Yeah.
attended the presentation, particularly for our developers and then also for our business analysts that may be creating that work as well.
I see. I see. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. And how about that team member? Like, what happened to that team member after they made the mistake? How did you, I guess, relate or communicate that they had made this mistake for this particular issue?
Well, it wasn't me who made the communication.
Okay.
It was our director. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so our
Hmm.
director let them know like, hey, something was
Hmm.
wrong because they reached out to him since he's the
Right.
face of the team. But
But you took it up upon yourself in order to make sure that it was resolved and
right.
present. Gotcha.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
it was brought up within our team meeting. I thought it
Hmm.
would be a good idea. I brought it up to my director as well. I thought it would be a good
Hmm.
idea for us to try to break down some of those silos that we have
Yeah.
between teams so that way we all know. In
Yeah.
addition to some more documentation or those presentations that we can use for
Hmm.
onboarding.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Those are things that we're definitely looking for in leaders, right? Even though the issue might not be something that you caused or something that might not even necessarily involve you, you found it upon yourself to pick it up and to lead out in the charge to make sure that this issue doesn't occur again, almost like a lessons learned. So definitely awesome, awesome. And even speaking more about the leadership piece, maybe even not so much more of like the technical aspects of data science and data engineering, but more of like how do you stay abreast of what's happening within your field? You go to conferences? Do you contribute to blogs? Do you post things about what's happening in the field? Because a lot of times we do want our leaders to have a good understanding of the industry so that they can communicate it to more junior members of the team. How do you stay abreast of what's happening within data science and data engineering?
Yes. So in addition to reading articles, I read articles pretty much daily relating
Okay.
to the industry, what's going on with the new trends. And then
Yeah.
also, I just found out that you can get a free membership to LinkedIn Learning
Okay.
through being a Fulton County, in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, being a
Mm-hmm.
Fulton County resident by getting a library card. I got a library
Mm-hmm.
card, and I like going on LinkedIn Learning to just kind of figure out, okay, what in data engineering is new, such as
Mm-hmm.
data visualization tools, such as like the Tableau, or other
Mm-hmm.
cloud services such as a Snowflake, an AWS, or a Azure, which I
Mm-hmm.
may not primarily use within my current role, but
Right.
I'm interested in it, so I want to go ahead and look into those tools. In addition to
Awesome.
that, I do attend quite a lot of networking events, and
Okay.
I am thankful that I'm a part of an organization called Technologists of Color, which
Okay.
does give me a lot of different options of going to different uh, tech events. I actually recently went to the Cybersecurity Summit here in Atlanta, Georgia, in
Okay.
Buckhead,
Nice. Yeah.
and that was a great way of me seeing a lot more cybersecurity. And they had a lot of different talks and upskilling. And then
Mm-hmm.
also I went to SQL Saturday, which is talking
SQL
about data
Saturday. Okay.
visualization for with Power BI.
Okay.
So
Sweet.
yeah,
Sweet.
does answer
Awesome.
your question.
Awesome. That definitely answers my question. And now I do want to provide you with the opportunity for you to ask questions. Do you have any questions for me as the interviewer? I think that we went over several things about your experience, your background, with the technical issues that you've come in happen in your environment, but also I'm able to better understand some of your leadership aspects as well. When there were issues, you were able to take things up on yourself, and you were able to kind of lead the charge in that. You kind of explained some things as it concerns internal or external customers, what that looked like, and understand and explain some concepts to me. And also, seems like you're staying abreast of what's happening within your tech field or your tech niche. So yeah, I think I have plenty of information here in order for me to take back to the hiring manager or to the rest of the hiring team. Do you have any questions for me? I
Yes,
don't
I
know how
do.
much I'll be able to answer them, but do you have any questions for me?
I do have
Yeah.
some more questions. Earlier in
Okay.
our
Okay.
conversation, you discussed
Uh-oh.
how one of the things that you were looking for in consulting, and it may just be one of the things about the industry, but it is
Mm-hmm.
retention. Can
Mm-hmm.
you kind of give me some more information of, okay, how in your organization do you work with onboarding and retaining a lot of your talent?
Mm-hmm. So definitely onboarding is a biggie, right? When people are newly coming into an organization, a lot of times they're just trying to pick up from where everybody else is. I know that even recently we had someone who recently joined our org and they were just saying that they felt behind. So having kind of what you were talking about, creating onboarding documentation, things that they can follow to really understand how can they get up to speed with the rest of the team that made them very much more comfortable within a team environment, but it also helped them to be more productive and being able to understand, hey, these are my priorities. These are the areas that I need to focus in on. So that's a biggie as it concerns retaining folks. Because if people come in and they feel like they're lost, then they're more willing to leave somewhere else, leave to go somewhere else.
Right.
Um, I think another thing to help with retention is also giving competitive salaries. Right, this market, the tech market, is booming at times, especially as it concerns compensation. So, offering base salaries, competitive bonuses. Our human resource team, they do plenty of market research as it concerns what are some of the most competitive salaries out there, even compared to some of our competitors. Right, so that's one thing that we focused in on heavily, and also we try to look at giving people kind of bonuses that aligns with their set priorities and what they were able to accomplish for the org. So that's kind of some of the onboarding and retaining. I think also trainings. Training is a big one too. We offer a wide range of trainings. I think some people are mentioning some there like CBT Nuggets, Pluralsight, but even with vendors, right? With GCP and AWS and Azure, you name it, we kind of offer world-class training and also just opportunities to lead and to move up within an organization. That's another thing. Promotions are regular within our field. So if you're performing, if you're doing what you need to do, if you're meeting your priorities, at times if you're going above and beyond, promotion should be expected in many cases based upon how the market is going. I know I gave you a lot there, but do you have any questions about any of what I just mentioned?
I do,
Okay.
particularly on how I do well in this role. Because when you
Mm-hmm.
say going above and beyond, what does success look like in this role? So that way I can
Mm-hmm.
then grow within the within this position.
100%. 100%. A lot of times that is very much so based upon you and the group that you're placed in. One, the group. The group has a strategic vision that comes from the directors and the above leaders for that org. So within the data science group, there's a I don't know data science director, and that data science director reports to a VP, who eventually reports to the CEO and the C-suite of our organization. That director sets a vision and a strategic guidance for your particular group. So I think that a lot of times when you first come into our org, it's very good to get acclimated with the strategic vision for the group that you're in. That might look like gaining more customers within a particular industry. That might look like some of what you mentioned, developing a lot of the internal documentation, internal delivery structure, so that we can have a very consistent delivery strategy across the organization that you're in. It might even include things like innovation. They might look for different innovations, you contributing to different innovations within your market. So I think the first thing there is to definitely get acclimated with the strategic vision that comes from the director of your org.
Okay. With that, I know that you're in the consulting space and you
Mm-hmm.
may have many different clients that you work with. What are some of the biggest clients that you may work with at the organization?
Mm-hmm. Who did you? What was the last fast food place that you've been to?
It's been a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Chipotle.
Probably them. How about
Right.
the last airline that you've been on?
Delta.
Them. How about the last
Right.
hospital you? How about the last hospital you visited?
Piedmont. Piedmont Healthcare.
Probably their parent company. All right. We deal with the top boys. We deal with the big guys in this world. All right. So this is this is where we play. These are our customers. If you can think of the ones that whoever had a Super Bowl commercial, we're probably working with them in some capacity within their tech field. So them play with the big boys. All right.
Right.
You have any other questions for her?
I do.
All
Uh,
right.
so so particularly, how do you recognize
Mm-hmm.
um, like different achievements? Do you give anything as far as a reward system
Mm-hmm.
for these for being successful in your role? Do you
Yeah.
recognize success in your organization?
I mentioned a couple earlier in the form of compensation, right? One of the ones is definitely an annual bonus. We get an annual bonus, And it's based upon the level that you're on. It can range anywhere between 10% of your base salary to anywhere maybe 20 to 25% of your base salary based upon how you perform at your particular level. Another one that we offer is that promotions. As teams grow, as teams expand, you are able to jump higher within the leadership role. So here, you will be in a leadership role, but you can go into manager, senior manager, where you have access to even higher levels of compensation for bonuses and base salary increases. So in many cases, your total compensation is directly affected by your performance. Another one is just like things that are just regular, like the benefits. You get access to any training that you can possibly think of for free, right? That doesn't even come with anything as it concerns you being awarded anything. That just comes from day one. Um, Let me see what else. We have internal kind of point systems where you might be able to get. I know last year I was able to get several points that I was able to buy a stroller with the amount of points that I got based upon performance. And other employees had awarded me different points for things that I've done for them. So things like that. We have some internal things that also has some points, but the primary way is that bonus and base salary increase based upon your annual performance.
Right. Okay.
Hopefully that
Uh,
makes sense.
it does.
I'm
Um,
trying. I'm trying. Yeah.
right. I know this is a consulting role, and
Hmm.
I saw on the job description that it is a hybrid position.
Hmm.
How much travel do you foresee for this particular role?
It all depends on the customer. So there's many customers, especially within the field that you're in. So it'll be fintech, right? So fintech, data engineering for fintech. Many of these customers want to save more and more on travel, lodging, and food for our consultants. So most of this will be remote work. You'll be gaining the customer can send everything over some secure file sharing mechanism. You are able to process and assess and formulate and normalize data on your machines at home. So the majority of it, I believe, will be remote, is what we've seen from how our customers have been. But there is opportunity to travel in the event that that's a request from the customer. So it all depends on the customer, and that can fluctuate, right? So there's no way to say 100%, but at the most, we'll say probably around 20, 15, 10 to 15% max at
Okay.
the moment. Yep.
And one last question for you.
Hmm.
In this role, what is the day-to-day work going to be like, especially
Hmm.
since it's going to be working with many different, well, potentially working with many different clients?
Right. So right now we have a pretty hefty pipeline, and that's one of the reasons why we're looking at bringing in a senior level leader like yourself, or senior level kind of individual contributor, but also leading teams for engagements. Right now, we have several customers who, where when you talk about the day to day, we have engagements that are about to kick off. They want us to be able to do some data engineering and data science stuff for them coming up pretty soon. So typically Monday through Friday, it looks like you jumping on calls with the customer every day or every other day, trying to understand what some of this data is, having kickoff meetings, status updates. Even if you're not working with the customer from a day to day, you'll be working with your team from day to day. So you might have to jump into some of that project management slash program management type of roles to try to understand status of how some of the more junior folk on your team are being able to assess the data that they have been provided. So day to day might look different, but it's typically a Monday through Friday. You having either some interaction with the customer directly, or you're having interaction with your team on set deliverables or status of analysis. And that typically is identified within what you call a SAL, or a statement of work. The statement of work will identify every single thing, whether it means like timeline of the engagement, deliverables that are expected, the time of the deliverables, and description of what the actual ask is that comes from the customer. So that's where you would get kind of your day to day at that moment. But that day to day would change based upon the different statement of works from the different customers. But that's kind of what I'm initially assuming. Does that answer your question, or do you want more information?
I do want to know a little bit more
Hmm.
about some of the tools that you may use, particularly which cloud platform do you use at your organization? Or
But
is it going to be different
I
per
don't,
the client?
I don't know. I don't know that one. I don't know. I don't know. You got me. You got me. I don't know.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I don't know that
Okay.
one.
Okay. All right. So
Well, this has been a great
it
interview.
yeah.
We'll call you. No, 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 I'm just joking. Go ahead.
No, well, so
Hmm.
I will say, in this, I primarily work with Google Cloud Platform,
Yeah.
and so I'm very familiar with them. But I am able to learn other cloud platforms as well because they all have similar use cases. And like I said
Hmm.
earlier in the interview, they are they have a lot of different tools similar to the Apache library of different products for big
Hmm.
data specifically. So
Okay.
any of these cloud platforms I'm able to learn or be able to pick up pretty quickly, so I can hit the ground running.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that even if you don't know the particular cloud platform, we'll make sure to train you up in order to be ready to deliver for the customer. So, and that's one thing that's really good about consulting is that you go from customer to customer to customer. You might be in different environments for each one of them. So you will get a wide range of experiences for sure.
All right, that sounds good. So
Indeed.
that is all of my questions. Did you have any more questions for me or?
Mm-mm. Nah,
Okay.
I'm done.
All right.
Whew.
So thank you,
Whew.
Gabe, for
Anytime,
interviewing
man.
me.
Mm-hmm. Anytime, anytime. Hopefully I did a good job. Hopefully I did a good job. You did great.
Well, thank you. I
Did
appreciate it.
great. Did great for sure. Um, so what you want to do now? You want to do like feedback or something
Yeah,
or
let's go through some
yeah.
feedback because I know
Mm-hmm.
that when it got to the technical question that we got from
Yeah.
Professor Black Ops, he asked that question about the the difference between the data warehouse and the data lake as
Mm-hmm.
well. So with that question part specifically, it is well, he said the data warehouse, data mart, and data lake. The
Yeah.
data warehouse is used for analytics or analysis, and it's
Okay.
already pre-processed data that's in a structured format. So you already have your schema and everything set up.
Yeah.
Um, and then a data lake is
Yeah.
where you just have raw, unstructured data, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could just store the data, and then you can process it later.
Yeah.
Because unstructured data, you will have something like a JSON file. Well, JSON is structured, but let's say you have like a CSV file of some
Mm-hmm.
sort, or and you want to be able to, or you have a new line delimited JSON for of document, and then you want to
Mm-hmm.
be able to put that into like a data warehouse, like a BigQuery. You can do that,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll come in. Data warehouses have a good way of being able to structure that data so that way it can be put into different tables.
Right.
Particularly with BigQuery, I know they have a lot of different formats it can take in, such as a JSON file. Um, it can take on Avro files, CSV files, even text files. I believe can be taken in by BigQuery.
Okay.
So
I'm learning here, so this is new to me.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And then data marts. I had to look it up. Data
Yeah.
marts. It says that a data mart is a data warehouse that serves the needs of a part of a specific business unit, like a company's
Mm-hmm.
finance, marketing, or sales department. So
Mm.
it is a data warehouse, but for that particular use case.
Let me tell you another thing that might be a little bit of a pro tip is that one thing that you want to do is that ask the whoever is interviewing or whoever is setting up the interview to ask the interviewer what are some concepts or what are some things that'll be focused on for this particular interview, right?
Mm,
Sometimes they'll say, "Hey, this is just a informal interview for them to get familiar with who you are. then you know that it's not really going to get down into some of the technical depth here. But if there are certain things that the project, because the project, so the reason why job postings are put out there is because there is a particular business need, right? Especially technical business need. So they are hiring for you to do something specific. And the hiring manager knows what that is, and the HR representative also knows what that is to some degree. So ask them, what is this? What do I need to, I guess, ramp up on for this particular interview that would allow me to be successful in explaining what my experience is? So ask them before the interview. Ask whoever's setting it up before the interview, and that'll alleviate more of those surprises. Because I know I've had that experience. Is that like, oh, whoa, why is this about this? Well, they didn't tell you it was about this. No, they didn't tell me. Did you ask? No, I didn't ask. So, yeah, man.
And usually, I think when you get to your level as a hiring
Mhm.
manager, it won't get too technical. You're just
No,
you're trying to get to know the person at that point, I think.
no, no. I think that one thing that I don't like are super duper deep technical interviews because um sometimes those technical interviews is it's just people recalling information rather than telling what their actual experience it is with that technology. Looking at, I typically try to focus on scenarios or things that they've done that I see on their resume, because in order for them to get in front of like a hiring manager like myself, they have to already have the experience down packed on their resume. So I'll ask about those things as it relates to the need that we have for the role. So that's typically where it is.
All right. Especially for
I'm not
a
saying I'm like the
senior.
final boss or anything. I'm not the final boss of interviews or anything. But typically, if I'm interviewing, then they would have those foundational skills or foundational knowledge base. So why am I asking about, hey, what is networking? What is TCP UDP port 53 or right? Why am I asking that? Is it, am I looking for a gotcha, or am I really looking for your ability to, or am I really looking for an understanding of your abilities?
Mhm.
And I think that those understandings come more from scenarios and things that you've done in comparison to exam questions.
Right. And
So
I
yeah.
believe that when you get to that point, speaking with the hiring
Hmm.
manager, and I guess technically you are considered the final boss. Not only
I
are you a
guess.
boss, but you are the final interview, a final person you have to speak to. But
Yeah.
I understand that
Yeah.
that feedback has to go up a level as
It
well.
does.
So in order for them to kind of make the decision, but you can also give some
Right.
feedback like, hey, I know this is a good person.
Because the person who gets the budget to hire is typically like a director or above, maybe a senior manager, but the budget typically comes from the director, the person who is literally given the keys to the organization's kingdom. So
Right.
they're making the final decision typically,
Well,
but you're like the final pass, if that makes sense.